So I'm Uzam Khan. I'm the Supply Quality Exec for Civil Aerospace Operations in Rolls-Royce.
Jim Wilson. I'm a Senior Manager in Pratt & Whitney Canada Supplier Quality, which is the audit department, and new Supplier Development Group.
Okay, I get a lot of criticism whenever that photo comes up, because one, I'm smiling, and two, I have hair. So it's tough being in quality. Appreciate, we are now between you and break, which is in half an hour. There's a quiz at the end. If you're really good at the questions, you can have a break. If you're not, we're here for a long time. I'm just kidding. So we're going to talk to you about deployment. Deployment of AS13100. What I did want to do very quickly is take us back a little bit to what Denis presented on the vision. You are the first guys to have seen that vision. So AESQ started 10 years ago, and its purpose, its mission, was to consolidate, as we've said already, the various standards that each of the OEM engine manufacturers had that were the same but different. Well, we have that now. We created that 2 years ago. We're going to talk about, myself and Jim, how we're doing on deployment. And we felt we needed to move forward to the next step. So whilst there's a lot of work still to do on becoming compliant, we're now changing our purpose to how do we get effective deployment that delivers zero defects, because that's what we're after. The end goal isn't just to be compliant to 3100. 3100 is an enabler to becoming achieving the end goal of zero defects. And that's really important, because deployment is all about how do we get to zero defects. So within AESQ, we have a number of sub-teams that are running. So they are communications, and it's the comms team that have organized this supplier forum. We have a training team, and Earl is going to talk about all the training offerings. And we have a deployment team. So I lead the deployment team with Jim and a bunch of other great people who are here to help and understand where we are. And these are the areas that we work in. And again, we're happy for input into how it's going from anybody in the room today or beyond this. So we've set ourselves an objective of enable the effective and consistent deployment of 3100 as a standard. So you've heard Helen talk about what it is. This is about making it happen. And we've three little areas that we look at. We're going to talk today about how we're doing surveys. So before each supplier forum, and generally twice a year, we send a survey out to lots of suppliers and ask, how are you doing? How can we help? So we'll take you through some of the latest data as of last month in a minute. We also look at understanding the types of suppliers that we have. So we have suppliers, as the poll just said, who do raw materials. We have suppliers that are distributors. We have suppliers who design make, who make the print. We have suppliers that are 100 people, and the suppliers that are 10,000 people. All of those are different environments in which 3100 needs to be implemented effectively. And we want to understand what that means. And as we collaborate more and more, maybe we'll look at a bit more about a raw materials collaboration. The great thing about AESQ is, even though we're competitors, as Silky said, we put quality and safety ahead of our competition. So how can we understand the environments we're trying to operate in? We also look at consistency and or variation. So even though the standard is the standard, you have to recognize that GE, Pratt & Whitney, Rolls-Royce, and Safran are nearly 100 years old. So we've been used to rowing our own boat in our own lane for 100 years, and trying to converge on stuff isn't easy. So it's taken us 10 years to come to the common thing on paper. Now I want to move it on to make sure that what you see is same as well. And there are sometimes differences. And the last bit, and you'll see these guys later on, SMIG, we have every reference manual has a subject matter expert group. They're a bunch of experts, but they're also practitioners. So we want to create a large community of practice from every one of our suppliers who contribute to these things and share and coach each other in improving. So just a bit of context. So I'm going to move on to now the latest survey data. I'll go through a little bit and I'll hand over to Jim. So some key points on this slide. Firstly, 238 respondents. So that's the rough number. We'd love it for it to be 10 times as much so that we get a broader, but it's a pretty decent sample as to where people are.
Just, if you don't mind, could we see a show of hands? How many here have responded to the survey within the last 4 or 5 weeks? Not
Few.
a whole lot.
So we've got a few to
Okay.
go.
So I thought it was going to be one way or the other. Sorry, I wanted to make sure to just
it's
take
a
the opportunity.
target-rich audience.
All right.
I'm not sure what this is here for. I'm supposed to sit on it or fall over it, but I'm fixated now. A really important other stat is that one of the questions we ask is, we list the 10 members of the AESQ, and I think Danu again put the chart up of who we are. Roughly, of the suppliers that responded, they supply 4 of them, which are likely to be Rolls-Royce, Pratt & Whitney, GE, Safran, but it could be some of the other members as well. Again, it's a really powerful indicator of why we need the AESQ and the AS3100 standard. So commonality is really important. The chart on that side, on your left-hand side, is just a breakdown of who responded from the various companies, so GE, Rolls-Royce, Safran, but also it gives a scale of the size of companies. The ones at the top are the smallest, the ones at the bottom are the large corporations. Broadly, another interesting number is 50% of the suppliers that responded are below 200 people. So one of the deployment considerations that we're trying to understand is, if you are a small company and you have the requirements of 13100, how do you make that work for you? Both in terms of the resource needed to make it happen, but also the right sizing to your company. These are important practical questions, so this isn't about just throwing this out there and leaving you to it. We want a two-way conversation as to how can we help. And we'll come to that later on. So I'm going to move on and pass this on to Jim.
I get the thingy. All right. Each year that we present these results. Now, the results are very important to the AESQ. It helps us to define what our next communication is going to be. It helps us to look at the deployment and what tools are needed. We look at training as well. You're going to hear from Earl later about the training opportunities. So this is very important to AESQ, but it might not be so important to you out there just to see what's going on. Please, what I ask you is think about your own company. We're going to look at a bunch of different statistics, a bunch of different results. Where is your company when it comes to the questions that are going to be shown up here on the wall? And are you in trouble? Are you behind the curve? Or are you, a market leader kind of thing, and you're doing all fine with your implementation? But ask yourself, where is our company on this, and where do we stand in the market? So this one is a time series. We've asked the same questions over the 5 last surveys, looking for a trend on how the organizations, our suppliers out there, their compliance is advancing. So obviously we love the purples. The greens are work in process, that's fine. But we got to really wonder about what's going on with the blues. So it was 8% of the respondents said they hadn't even started implementing AS 13100. But hold on, it's been a contractual requirement since January of this year. How have you not started implementing AS 13100? That's something we at the AESQ want to try and figure out. And then the reds, they've started to implement, but they're way behind the curve when it comes to timing at least. What can we do to help those people to move forward as well? So the trend is right. We still have 18% that are very, very early in their implementation, and that's something that concerns us. We want to try and figure out why and then see what we can do to help. Again, to compliance. So we've asked a series of questions over all of the surveys, and then we've asked some new ones. The new one this year, one of the new ones this year, was about actually being compliant by the end of this year. So as you know, AS 13100 was contractual by the OEMs and all of the members of AESQ on January 1st of 2023. We got out into the market and we heard from our suppliers that they were having difficulties. So we basically made an informal decision that, okay, take 2023, we're going to help you as much as we can, but get compliant by the end of the year. All of the OEMs are looking for their supply base to be compliant by the end of the year, and we will start looking into how compliant our suppliers are in a little bit more aggressive way in 2024. So the questions were, where are you, first of all, in your compliance? And a nice 28% said, oh yeah, we're already compliant. That's great. 53%, over half the suppliers that responded to the survey are underway. They're in the process somewhere of getting compliant. And then again, two categories we just don't understand, but there's that 18% again that aren't even close to being compliant. A separate question then said, well, how confident are you, or do you believe that you're going to be compliant by the end of the year? And here's great, 61% say, yep, we're going to be compliant at the end of the year. But that's the 28% that already believe they're compliant, plus another 18%, I think it was, no, it was 23%. 23% of the yellows, but that leaves 30% of the yellows that are working on it, but they're not going to be compliant by the end of the year. And what can we do to help them? What's the thing that they're missing that is going to not allow them to be compliant by the end of the year? So this is a little disappointing to us. Hopefully that number is going to get higher, the 61%. Hopefully it's going to get higher as we get closer and closer. But what we really want to hear from our suppliers, and we ask this all the time through the website, through these meetings, through our webcasts and our individual company webcasts, we keep asking our suppliers, how can we help? And that's what we really want to know. I talked about Earl and training. Training is a big thing for us, so we want to make sure that we understand what training you need, where you are, how can we help. These are the two courses that are required by 13,100. Okay, so there's an AS 13,100 requirements course, which is 10 modules that are done online. You can do them at your own pace, and they're very easy to get a hold of. And then there's the Quality Foundations course. This is a 3-day instructor-led course, and I'm taking Earl's bit here, but it's a 3-day instructional course. You'll see in 13,100, it describes who from your company should be attending these courses, but there is a requirement to at least have somebody go through both of those courses to make sure you have the tools that you need to implement 13,100. So when we asked the suppliers, the respondents said, hey, you have a plan somewhere about how many of your employees had to go and get trained. Where are you to that plan? So, a good portion, over 50% are already at 75% or greater. So that's good news for us. So at least there's a good portion there. But no AS 13,100 training to date, and then 1 to 25. All right, you'd argue that maybe 26 to 50 should be yellow, but they're in the middle of their training program. You'll see later, I think, that the training registrations are not going in the right direction, and I'll leave that for Earl. But why are they not going in the right directions? Why are these numbers not better than they are? If somebody can tell us, we might be able to do something about it. So again, we're looking for feedback. And then the last question, and this is asked on a regular basis in the survey, if you needed more training besides those 2 courses, what other training would you like to see? Okay, the first 4 have moved around during the years, but they're basically always the top 4 kind of thing. We know these are the top 4. We know that the SAE, the AESQ's partner in this whole AS 13,100 journey, the SAE has courses on every one of these first 4 at least, and they're available to all our suppliers. There's a link somewhere, I think, later on where you can go to get information on those courses. There are plenty of industry consultants out there that will teach you MSA, that will teach you human factors. So the courses are there. We even have our own with the SAE, but any of those other courses are going to help you kind of thing. But we know this is an issue here. So the other ways, though, this is not just a training course issue. The SMIGs themselves will put on webcasts. There are a whole bunch of webcasts recorded on the AESQ website. There's at least 2 on human factors. And if you haven't seen those, they probably are going to help you a lot. They might not do 100%, but they're going to help you a lot. Similarly, on process control, I know the leader of the process control team, he did a 2-day webcast that's now recorded on the website. So go and take a look at that stuff. We'll talk a little bit later. Jun-san will talk about how to get all this information, how to connect with us on a better way. And I think it's back to you.
Yep. So where would we like all of us to be at? So really simple graphic, got 2 axes. We need suppliers, and the same challenges with our own business as well. We need people who are committed to 13,100 and achieving 0 defects, and they're capable. So, and then they both have both levers. So what we're trying to do is, what's the best strategy to get everybody in that top right-hand quadrant, i.e. your leadership and your technical community are committed to achieving the goal of AS 13,100 compliance and 0 defects, but also are capable of doing it. And I can go through those 4 quadrants and put my various suppliers into each of those. So the top right, I know the ones that I can simply go, let's agree a set of quality targets at the start of the year, and at the end of the year, they'll come back and say, we've done it. Really aggressive targets. And just as a bit of, a personal reflection on where Rolls-Royce is, we have a challenge, and not we each have our individual targets as OEMs, but we're really pushing to get 0 concessions by the end of 2024. We set that target 2 years ago, and last year we set our suppliers and ourselves a 50% reduction in a year. Same with this year. Do you know what? Last year we got to 45% concession reduction. And this year we'll get to that amount as well. So we're proving to ourselves that this isn't as difficult as we've probably convinced ourselves it is. That we can achieve incredible things if we get commitment and if we develop capability in being able to do so. So the rest of the chart, we have suppliers that we know are capable, but they're not quite coming to the party in terms of commitment. That might be because my particular company is a small part of their business. They don't want to invest. It may be other reasons. So what we want to understand is, well, how can we encourage them more to get on the journey with us? Similarly, on the top left-hand side, we have suppliers that are really committed, but don't have the capability. And all of the stuff that Jim's talked about and Earl will talk about is how can we help develop your capability to be able to do this stuff. If you are not committed, you're not capable, I guess the blunt thing is you may not be our supplier moving forward. So this is a model that we want to use to help our supply chain move to that top right-hand box. To be able to do that, we have another Slido, so get your phones out, please. Really a simple question. How can we help in your deployment? What I would ask is just one word rather than a sentence, so we just after singular words. And also, if you see a word you're about to say, use the same word. Don't spell it differently or put an S at the end of it, whatever. So we have fewer, bigger responses. Okay, we're looking for about 60, I think. Top right-hand number. So let's see. We'll give it a little bit of time. I know it's not as easy as what city are you from. Marcus had the easy one, didn't he?
Yeah, and please feel free when we have the breakout and you're going to be able to talk to the SMID guys. If you have very much more specifics, please go and discuss those specifics with the AESQ member there. We really want to hear those.
Keep going. 12, 48 to go.
12. Come on, it's anonymous.
All right, there's a limit on more time now. I don't want any more time on there. I know how this works. $23, come on, there's a few left.
A lot more time. Just to be different.
No, can we put the more time on a stop now? I don't want any
and there's
more
a
time.
simple little time. No theme here at all. Extended timeline. Oh, there we go.
A few more. I'll lift to 40. I'll compromise. I'll give you a deviation to get to 40 before instead of 60. But a few more. Are we all done? It's like an auction, isn't it? Any more? Okay. Well, we'll stop there. So, anyone spot the one that's the biggest retail on here? So more time. So as Jim said, we asked for 31 compliant at the start of the year. We recognized it was going to be a challenge for many. So we informally extended that, and we have local cover, at least in Rolls-Royce, of how we manage that, because otherwise regulators would go, you're non-compliant to 3100 and say before, which essentially is our requirements to you. The question we're asking ourselves now, and the data that Jim presented is a useful indication, is, well, how much more time? We understand that the journey is longer for some than others. We understand that probably some didn't start when the standard was released 2.5 years ago. Some waited and waited and waited. it's not. I think what we're looking for now is a degree of certainty and acceleration to achieve that standard. It can't be an open-ended thing. We're, I think, happy to understand there will be different challenges for different people, but we will be more engaging in that.
I'd just like to reiterate something that Denise said, which was if you were already compliant to Safran's requirement prior to AS 13100, you're already at 80%. Same thing is probably true with ASQR1, with S1000, and with Sabre 3. So, there is an expectation there that our supply base was compliant, and that the jump to the additional little things into AS 13100 weren't going to take that long, and apparently we're learning that's not the case.
Okay, so if we take the next one, simplification. Helen talked earlier about a refresh. So Silky is from the car industry, and I think every 7 years is a brand new car, but in between there's a mild refresh. So the start of next year, 3100 will be a mild refresh. That's not to put new stuff in there, that's to provide a little bit more simplification and guidance, etc. So hopefully we've responded. I think we got a couple of hundred inputs at least into that, which the writing team have gone through to consolidate. So hopefully you'll see that. That doesn't mean there isn't more fundamental stuff to do, and that's fine. But the vision that we put up is really our guiding light to go, whatever is in there is there to enable zero defects. If there is complication that isn't going to get us there, we're happy to have a conversation with you. But for that, you need to get involved. Okay? And these forums are like that, and there's our website, etc. If I go a bit more to guidance, coaching, and tools, we're trying to get to a spectrum here of, if you go on the AESQ website, let's ask that question. How many of you have been on the AESQ website? Give me a show of hands. Right. That's not bad.
That's a good result. Yeah.
For those who haven't, do that today when you get home. It's the most exciting, useful website you will see. It really is. But none of this stuff is new, right? This stuff has been around for 30, 40 years. There's lots of great knowledge in there, and we've tried our best to make it available to you on the website. From beyond the website, that gives you a degree of knowledge. Get on the training, and Erla will talk. That'll give you a little bit more practical stuff that you can get to do. And beyond that, join the community of practice and the SMIGs, because that's where you get coaching. So we are trying to have this value chain of knowing it to helping develop your skills, and we'll continue to look at what more we can do to be able to do that. My personal view is there isn't, with the internet, I think we were talking about one of my colleagues, you can Google anything. Right? There is not a lack of knowledge in the world these days. There's probably a lack of experience, and you only get that through having a go. Right? So have a go, and you will learn yourself.
And as Helen said, the guidebooks, the reference material books, the 13 books that were created by experts in the industry. It's really good coaching, it's really good guidance, it's really good tools. There is additional things there besides just the reference materials. There are spreadsheets, decision trees. There's all sorts of tools that are also related to the RMs, but the RMs themselves are chock full of information from experts in the industry. Can't say it enough. Okay.
There's a couple around executive training, involvement, so leadership. So a lot of you are quality people here, and I know you're believers, like we are, and you look for, well, how do I get my leadership to be believers? The personal story in Rolls-Royce is, with a brand like ours, it's very difficult not to be good at quality. It's a very good excuse for the customers to put, but you're Rolls-Royce, you're known for quality, and we don't always live up to that. But in 2015, we had a really big issue with a customer, a really big issue that disrupted them a lot. That is what kick-started our zero defect journey. That's what got the exec interested, and we took 1,000 of them through 3 days of zero defect training. It was really interesting to hear Silky talk about 10 days of auditor training for senior BMW executives. I can't tell you what the answer to getting your leaders engaged is. Put them in front of us if you want. If you want, myself or Jim or Barbara from GE or Lisa from Pratt & Whitney, we'll talk to your leadership team to tell you how important this stuff is. But you need to engage them. You need to give them enough knowledge that they understand why this is important, what their role is in that. Okay, so we can help, but we recognize you need to get them on board. Best practices, you will see some of that later. In fact, just after the break, my colleague Steve Roebuck will talk to you about some work we're doing on human factors, and Oben Duvala here to talk to us about what they're doing on 13100. One of the things we do want to do more of in the deployment team is make those best practices available to you through next year. But it's a two-way street. We need your help, right? We need to send us where you've been successful, and we'll make you famous, right? We'll give you kudos. We'll put you in lights. We'll name check you. You might get more business from it, but we need you to give us the best practice so we can share it with everybody else. Don't be shy. Right, are there any more, Jim, any more that we want to have a look at?
No, just a comment. I'm not sure it's in the presentation today, but the executive involvement kind of thing. The AESQ has heard this, and we've been listening to you. We are in the process of developing an executive information plan about the AESQ and AS 13100, something at the level that you can take to your senior management, which will at least give them the kind of basic information that Uzan was just talking about. We don't know when, we don't know exactly how, but we've been working on it the last couple of days, so it's going to be there available for you as a tool to talk maybe better with your senior management. Okay, I think that was it.
And so when I said no more time, there's a lot more time and extend timelines. So you thought of different ways of putting the same words in. Look, I hope it's been useful to help you understand where the overall journey is that people are on. Many are there. We recognize some aren't there. We're not here to beat you up on that. We're here to encourage you and support you to be able to do that. But we do need you to get there sooner rather than later, because we've committed to our customers and our regulators that our supply chain will be compliant to 3100. We need your help as to what you're finding difficult, and the rest of today is also about that as well. Okay, so I think with that, we are bang on time. 10 o'clock for break, which will be 25 minutes. So at 10:25, there's Marcus, coffees and stuff there. Coffees will be arriving at some point there. So that's input. Output is there outside to your right. That's where the toilets are. Back here for 10:25, please. Thank you.